Boom! Good evening, good afternoon, and good day to you wherever you are and wherever you may be. My name is Samuel Davis III, and I'm the host of Uplift Our Community podcast, powered by Bridge Visions. Today, we're talking about something that affects every relationship, every decision, every dream, and every season of life. Clarity versus confusion. Because confusion can feel normal when you've lived in chaos long enough. Confusion can sound like overthinking, second guessing, mixed signals, fear, drama, and emotional exhaustion. But clarity is peace. Clarity is power. Clarity is knowing what matters, knowing who matters, knowing what needs to go, and knowing what season you're in. Some people stay stuck not because they lack talent, but because they tolerate confusion. So today we're going to expose confusion, embrace clarity, and help you move with confidence. Let's get into it. Let me bring my crew in and let's talk about this. All right. Guys, with that being said, today, I know it might seem to some kind of crazy to even think about clarity versus confusion. I want to just ask you, going off with you, starting off, Gordon, what does that mean to you when what I just talked about, just off the bat?
So when I first read just the title itself, I was thinking, goal setting, and it can be any kind of goals. It can be personal, it can be professional, it can be, faith, it can be family, whatever kind of goal. I think that when you go after something that you've never had or try to accomplish something you've never accomplished, it requires doing things you've never done, right? And so to go after something, you're kind of setting up a plan, steps to get there, but you've never been there, you've never done it. So that's where the confusion comes in. Are you taking the right steps? Are you doing the right things? And then clarity is kind of, for me, it's like based on faith, and not so much faith like in a religious way, but just faith. Do I have faith in what I'm going after? Do I have faith in myself? Do I have faith in my team, my family, whoever it is? Because sometimes it's individual, sometimes it's as a group. And that's kind of what I was thinking about. Confusion can be doing things you're not sure are going to lead to where you actually want to go. And clarity is, so I said faith, but also clarity can also be, once you've done some of the things, if you start getting closer to your goal, then that clears some things up. Yes, I took the right steps, I did the right things. And so you can't have clarity without action, in that manner of speaking.
Okay. Jay, what you think?
What he said.
Ditto.
I believe that was clarity and confusion. Oftentimes, especially with dealing with stress and strife in my life, if I find myself quote unquote stuck, you know, I that haze or what have you, I'm losing direction in my purpose, or the day to day steps to get me to those goals. So clarity for me is when I realize, like, okay, I'm supposed to be keeping moving forward. It gives me that purpose. It gives me direction. It helps to find my steps. And confusion has its balance. Confusion has its purpose as well, because confusion, you can find yourself in a different scenario that you're not used to, or you find yourself in an area or playing a game or dynamic that does not feel right to you. So you have to you're disoriented. Why are you disoriented? Are your values changing, or your goals changing, or the people that you're around, that you're dealing with, do they work at a different rate or in a different way that you're not used to? Should you change, adapt, or what have you? So both of those states have a real value in your life.
Okay. They definitely do. My question then would be, to start this off, because I want to bounce this back at you since you just finished answering the question, or answering that question, is, have you ever mistaken confusion for complexity? Like, for example, thinking that a toxic relationship is really complicated when it really isn't. It's just as inconsistent.
No, no, I all right, complexity. If it's that complex, something's wrong. That's all. That's all I know. Because if you can't break it down into its core components, there's some steps missing. Something's not adding up. Part of what my field is, I'm a scientist. I'm an inventor. I create. That's part of what I do. If I can't explain it to you, I don't understand the process. Okay. So there's something missing, and I find that when people try to explain something that they don't really understand, they don't understand the process, or they're trying to maybe pull some fast move or what have you. Okay. So, but if anything is complex, that lets me know that either there's a chance for clarity, or I don't need to deal with whatever they're dealing with, or what have you. Okay.
With that being said, Gordon, yourself, now he's saying that if there's confusion, there's not clarity, and something's not right. Do you feel that same way with what he said? You agree with it?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. I think that because it's going, for me, it goes back to going after things you've never gone after, right? And so, if you've never gone after it, it's a learning opportunity, and hopefully it's taken as a learning opportunity, and not kind of what Jay was saying, that maybe they're trying to do something that they shouldn't be doing, or trying to take advantage of somebody. Because I have been in situations where somebody's trying to explain something to me and they don't fully get it, but I can, you can feel whether they're trying to pull something, fast one, or if they truly just are in the learning part of the stage of that process.
Sometimes I know when you get caught up with some people's stories sometimes, and you hear a person's story, you really want them to do it. You really want them to make something or do something, but you get caught up in the fogginess of it, and there's no clarity. But I really want this guy to make it. I really do. I'm going to hang with this person. I'm going to listen to a story, and I know he's full of crap. I know it. But I just hang, and I allow things to go. And sometimes I allow that confusion to just kind of permeate a situation, because first, I don't want to have to deal with breaking this person's spirit and saying, "Hey, man, you're wrong," because I really want them to achieve. But my question is, with that being said, have you in any of your lives done anything like that at all, to placate somebody, to make them feel good, to not necessarily say the hard things, and ask for that clarity, and just lived in that confusion? Does that make sense of what I'm saying?
I think I get it to some degree, because I'm sorry, Gordon, go on. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah.
I work with a lot of young people, so I like work with innovators, and part of the deal is their excitement is contagious. I hate this. Now I got this whole background on this stuff. Okay. So, all right, don't worry about anything over there. So the deal is that I found that now that you want to be happy for them, you want to feel that excitement for them, and you love their enthusiasm. But they're so pumped and so full of momentum and getting something accomplished. They're not looking at the pitfalls or the things that aren't adding up. Okay. So that's where, you feel like, quote unquote, being the wet blanket in some situations, where you just say, "Hey, did you guys really look at this? Did you really work about it?" No, everybody's doing it. It's going, that's how they do it there. And I'm like, why is it that, so what they say, truth is like poetry. Nobody likes poetry. So I have to be the poet, or the truth teller, because I don't want them to overinvest themselves and their energy in something that doesn't pan out. Because hey, maybe if you look at it a different way, or maybe you make some steps and change it, you can make it more a sustainable model. But we won't be able to do anything unless we see, from the beginning and how this process is supposed to work.
Okay, Gordon, you want to say anything from there?
So I was kind of thinking, regarding letting somebody go after or do something that they're trying to get done or trying to do, as long as it's not going to hurt or harm anybody, right? I think it's really just comes down to a learning experience. If I go and I tell them, you know what, this plan that you have, I don't think it's going to work, or whatever, I've tried this, I've tried that, and I really think you should do something completely different. It's not the same as if they go after it and they learn themselves, you know what? Because to some degree, as a win, they actually did it. They took action and went after it, right? And then the fact that maybe it didn't work and they have to pivot a little bit and replan something out, that isn't even a fail. That's a learning opportunity. And the best way to learn is through, as some people say, failing forward.
Okay. We got Benji jumping in here. Benji, we're talking about clarity versus confusion, and the question that I want to ask you, Benji, clarity. When you get information and it's clear and you understand it, how does that feel in your body versus when someone comes up and gives you a half-cocked dream and they're telling you something? Hey man, let me tell you, I got this right here and I can make this money and we can do it like this, and they're just fast talking you. How does it feel for you physically in your body? How does that feel in your body? Like example, like calm, can you sleep? Do you have a lighter mood? How does that feel for you as a businessman? Somebody, clarity versus confusion. How does that feel when you're talking to a client?
It's usually the same thing. My first thought usually is the right one, and I confirm it with my body. I have this weird indicator on my right side of my stomach. It's like a up and down symbol essentially, and so if it's an up symbol, it's a no. If it's a yes symbol, it's a down. So that's usually, but the first instinct is usually right, and then it's confirmed by that, because we all tend to want to confirm it, but that's usually the case. And then if I'm in kind of really busy mode all the time, I just ask for yes and no, and I have that indicator pretty much all the time, and it's always my right side, my stomach or my body.
So you're saying that you actually physically feel
something? Yeah. So it's like where the appendix is. And so I can feel it, the lower part or the higher part is like a little pinch. So it's one of those kind of, you pinching your little, it's like that. If it's below, then it's a yes. It's a little too high, it's a no. Usually that's the case. And then when there's a strong no, usually there's like a kind of almost like a ring to it, like a brass ring hitting you. It's kind of like I can feel it, those are the things. But the no is really easy, because it's kind of like, this is where it's the instinct of being in a jungle. Like you smell danger, you don't want to walk to it. Your body just stops, right? Where that, that's just the living grace that I grew up with, and that's how things always been. Business is the same way. People are the same way. Man, it's like we grew up here in Texas. It's literally, it's kind of like, you walk into a certain neighborhood, like, I'm okay here, I'm not okay here. It's just normal. Like we're talking about when you were in prison, right? You got that self-awareness immediately.
Yeah, it took a little while to get that self-awareness though, because how you were very, very specific with how you feel it in the right side of your body when it's positive and certain things like that. That's taken a while, and obviously since you are the senior statesman here, you had enough time to work that little thing out for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of people they ignore that. They ignore that. They ignore those signals. There are people who are allergic to cheese and they're constantly eating pizza. They're putting extra cheese on their tacos. There's people that ignore things like that. Jay raises his hand up, but there are constantly things like that. physically you actually have something. I want to ask you, Gordon, do you have any examples that your body tells you something's going on, or do you have any signals that you receive?
I have. It's not all the time, but I have been in situations where I walk past somebody and the whole side of my body gets really hot. And I know that it's a tense situation, and I know that something's off, something's not right, and I just have to be more alert in that moment. It's not very often. It's less now than when I was younger. But yeah, and I didn't necessarily understand it. You know, as you said, it takes a while to really get to know yourself and be self-aware, and that particular thing is not something you want to constantly try to test and put yourself in those situations to test it. But if you do, and if it does happen, you know, being aware of it and analyzing it and getting to know it is definitely valuable. And
Yeah,
but
there's
go ahead.
but there's time you have to recalibrate, right? And it's a yes and no, right? And you say, my name is Benji. That's a yes, right? And then just recalibrate it. Sometimes the compass get off during the lifetime, and just recalibrate it, because you know who you are, right? It's like, you know what the yes answer is, and it's like, this is a yes. Go back and recalibrate it. It's a compass.
Well, let me ask you this, because we're talking about recalibration. Jay, how do you recalibrate?
Alcohol.
Okay, there we go.
Twice on Fridays.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But you know, you know, it's like the deal is that I find myself, you know, with a lot of responsibility for is, you know, community work, entrepreneurial endeavors, family, so on. So it's just, I had a moment, matter of fact, a few days ago, I'm thinking, how many people or how many are depending on me? And I'm like, who do I get to depend on? You know, that kind of deal, you know? So I guess that's like one of those, you know, price of manhood kind of thing, when you like, you know, you're like the tent pole for your community, your family, and so on. You know, that's par for the course of men of my generation for the most part. Okay. So I found that for myself and my time, I reclaiming my time and really being more decisive about the responsibilities that I have versus the ones that other people can actually do for themselves. You know, it's kind of I guess a better word for having boundaries. This has been it's been a small step, but over time I'm seeing more of a return on my peace of mind. Okay. My first community work is concerned, if somebody comes to me and say, well, I don't have a place for me and my kids to stay tonight, you know, that's something where it clicks in. Oh, well, you can talk to these people, you can talk to these people, you know, what have you. But that can bleed over into my relationships as well, because you know, relationship, people don't, you know, it's often said that women don't want you to fix their problems, they just want you to hear and be a sounding board for the most part. You know, so I tell anybody I'm dating, don't tell me anything unless you want to. Like, it's just a deal. And so sometimes you might have to. I even give them the get out of jail free card. You know, we're going to start this conversation. We're just talking. I don't want you to fix it. And go. That kind of deal. You know, but it's So being able to reclaim my time and my energy has allowed me to help reset myself. Okay, so that's pretty much important for me.
That was actually a very good example. I also want to go back with Benji did mention the prison aspect of me working in it, and for me that was a life or death thing. You had to figure out either it was clarity or confusion. If someone's approaching me, I gotta be able to turn my back on this guy, and I gotta be clear that this person is a friend or a foe before I turn my back and walk away, because this guy, he might be having an episode and I might be just sitting back there just lackadaisical, just kind of like, oh, well, you know, whatever. And boom, I might not even be here talking to you today because of that. Wow. So what you were explaining, Jay, what you talked about actually hit on the next question. And that goes on the line with what we were just talking about with Benji and his being the senior statesman. It took you a while to establish those boundaries that you said. That
Well,
because
yeah, I'm sorry. Well, that was part of my childhood. So when I was in Laos growing up, and meeting all the cool people and all my adventures, and and then in the world of Laos, so and Benji's not even listening because I'm talking about it. I'm like, he's catching up on the game. He's like,
I was born in Winton, Laos, right? I was born in
that's
Winton.
what I said, Laos.
Yeah,
I was like, no. I'm like,
yeah.
I said it twice. I'm like, he's not even budging.
It's like I just have a tremendous remembrance of how much danger I was in there, right?
I got you.
Yeah, so that was like the very, very first time during the Vietnam War when the plane came over and the siren go off, and I got thrown into the basement, right? Because I didn't know what was going on. That was the raid when they came to that, right? That was something that the first time when you're like 2 or 3 years old and your adult protector are scared of you. And I always had protector. Like my birth father was definitely, the OG. So things like that, and I remember even to this day, it was like my house got shot at. There's a bullet hole in front of my house, and things like that. So for me, it was, and I always had this really kind of romantic relationship with Laos because Wintian is just the name of is it meant to be the city of candles, right? So you see all that magic there, but I don't remember too much after that. But I just remember being there during those times. So,
wow. Gordon, I'd like to ask you. You're a father of 4. What boundaries do you have that would instantly create clarity with your sons, with people that you deal with? How do you establish yourself?
I think it has to do with being consistent. If you set boundaries or rules, but you let them, not them as in people, but you let your boundaries be, let them fluctuate, then it sets precedents or standards, right? And then, and so, and the standards, can be with my 4 boys. The standards can be with just me and myself, holding myself accountable, and being truthful with myself. And if I say I'm going to do something, do the things that I'm going to do. Just like if I'm interacting with somebody else and they say that they're going to do something, and then they don't do it, or they don't do it exactly how they were going to do it, then that affects my trust for them. Same thing goes with me. If I tell myself I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, and then I don't do it, then how much trust do I have in myself? And so that consistency, I think, plays a big role. And then also, being consistent, knowing what your capabilities are, so that you don't tell yourself, oh, I'm going to do all of this stuff. And then, before you even say it, that's not going to happen. And so you're just setting yourself for all kinds of failure. And so knowing yourself and being consistent, I think, are 2 of those things, I guess, those factors.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I want to move on to the next question, because what happens to your energy when you're confused? So an example, fatigue, procrastination, irritability, anxiety. So when I'm confused, depending on how I'm being approached or the situation, I'll shut down. I might be like, back up for a moment. Let me hear what he's got to say. And then I get a little bit skeptical. And then I kind of like, I don't know. Benji said he gets this little tingle on the side of his body. My spider senses start flaring up and things start happening. I'm just curious, with anybody else, what, how does that affect you? And I want to ask you, Jay, with that being said, how does that affect you when there's confusion in the conversation with what I was saying? I'm sorry, I just got a little lost right now.
All right. Well, this segment is brought to you by ADD.
Jay with the comic relief there.
Hey, I'm the spokesman for this company. I mean, good. No, I get it, but you know what? It's weird that you said like the way the question and all, because I dare say it was an epiphany, but when I talked about confusion and what have you, I always seen it as when you're in a boat, you know, and the engine just cuts off when you're trying to go somewhere, and you're just adrift. Okay. You know where you want to go, and you got the frustration, but you see this whole process that you have to go through to get this engine straight and get it all back on, so you can actually not even get to where you're supposed to go, but try to make up for the time you lost in getting to where you're supposed to go. Okay, so when I feel that sensation, I know that I have to actually just cut. I have to cut not only the engine, I just have to stop everything I'm doing and just gather my breath. Okay, I just have to settle down, because 9 times out of 10, especially with the way I work with my groups and what have you, it's always about putting out fires or getting ready for the next thing. So you find yourself in a position where you're just trying to fix one mistake, but if you're creating SOPs, if there's a flaw in that mistake you're trying to fix, you're creating a process where that mistake is going to keep happening over and over again. So you have to start back to the basics on like, what do I need first to get to move? Okay. And 9 times out of 10, I need to make sure I understand what actually is the problem. Okay. You put so much energy in trying to fix what you think is an issue or what somebody said is going on from their point of view, but that's not actually really what's going on. So you have to find out what the problem is, and that's where I focus on how to fix the problem, and then that's a trickle effect where it takes care of a lot of things for me.
Okay, all right. Gordon, you any comment on that?
So I was thinking, you know, when you first said it, you mentioned a couple of things, and you know, you said, I think you said like irritability and anxiety and a couple other things. I can't remember exactly. But for me, it's anxiety. It's I start feeling anxious, and I start feeling like something's wrong, but I'm not sure what it is. And it's almost always that I'm starting to drift a little bit from, you know, whatever my plan is, right? And so, you know, the world can kind of take over, and you can kind of get on. I can kind of get on autopilot every once in a while, where I'm not truly focused as much as I should be and doing the things that I got to do. And say, you know, my to-do lists, if you want to call them that, are starting to fall behind, but I don't recognize it already. It's almost like the anxiety comes first, and then I have to say, okay, hold up, what's something's wrong, right? And I have to pause, regroup, you know, check everything, right? Check my emails, check my phone calls, check my text, make sure everything's good, check myself. And so that's kind of the way it works with me. And then another one that I was thinking of is I don't know if this is ego or how it would be described, but oftentimes I'll put together, even if it's just in my mind or in a notepad on my phone or whatever, I'll put together a plan of how something needs to be done, but it requires interaction with others. But I'm so convinced that this is the way that when somebody says, nope, that's not going to work or whatever, and he's completely different, then I'm like caught off guard. And I'm like, damn, I thought I knew, right? And so again, I have to check myself, and I can't be so convinced all the time that there's only one way to do things. I have to just stay open-minded and say, okay, all right, let's hear it. Let's see what do we got to do. And especially when interacting with others, right? It doesn't have to be a very one-sided interaction. Everybody's voice and perspective and point of view matters. So
that was a very good point you brought up on dealing with other individuals, because that kind of leads to my next question, which is, who benefits from this confusion? Manipulators, people are using. So like everything I do always seems to come back to me working in the prison system, because that's what I was dealing with every day. You're dealing with master manipulators. You're dealing with people who look for weak spots in individuals. You're dealing with every single day there's somebody trying to get something, trying to figure out how I can get myself in a better position than the next guy, or I can do certain things. So my question is, and I want to ask this. I'll start with Benji, and then I'll go with you, Jay. Who benefits? Who benefits from your confusion? And
Well,
or do you allow that to happen to you?
yeah, all the time. But this is the world, right? So the government, the IRS, the religions, right? They all do the same thing. They confuse you, right? So what benefit is control you, right? Because you're giving away your freedom at that point. So if you want freedom, you got to have maximum responsibility, right? And that's something that they don't teach you. And that's a tough thing to understand. Because if you truly want your freedom, that right there, you involve in the chaos, that everyday thing, the politics, the news, and all that. Yeah, it's a big fuss. Now, that said, there's also underlying thing that you can take from those chaos. There are like nuggets of data point that you can use to create that freedom. You gotta learn. Back to the thing, you gotta learn the game. This is, and you gotta stop playing checker. You gotta learn how to play chess. And so if you want to be like in the like benefit and of others and do all this, you gotta learn the checker game, because that's what it comes down to. But yeah, everybody else, everybody else, kind of like take your energy away.
Go ahead, Benji. I love that. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Good job. Go ahead, Jay.
What he said. I mean, I honestly, especially, I know there might be a more controversial aspect, and Benji was, he highlighted it. But even when it comes to religion, like right now, especially looking in what's going on in the United States of America, it doesn't necessarily have to be religion per se, but it could be people that are selling you an aspect of religion that creates a cult. Okay, what we're dealing with in politics right now, cult-like mentality and cult-like standings and certain things, because they profit, they thrive off of the lack of information. Okay, they thrive on misinterpreting things, items to the uninformed masses. Okay, the people that don't actually read, or people that go off of what what they've been told their whole life is something that they find out that hopefully they'll find out. Maybe some people are learning it as we speak, that their lack of knowing is a tool for them to be controlled and to act as foot soldiers for the greater evil. Okay, so we have to be aware of that, because that confusion, when people are like, you're this person in this country where everything's supposed to work out a certain way and things aren't. Well, something's wrong. Well, they like, hey, blame that guy that doesn't speak English that just got here. How did he destroy your life? But they don't want to ask the question, because guess what? If the whole tide is blaming that little guy that just got here, it's got to be some truth to it, right? So let's just blame him. All right. So that's what we find out, where those evils have not only grown, they have thrived with confusion. They have thrived with the chaos. All right. That is it's something they count on in order to propagate that ignorance. All right. So we have to not only understand that we're, like, for us being able to stand and understand our direction, we have to speak truth to power when we are going in the wrong direction. We have to stand up and say, this is wrong. Why? Sure. Bop, 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 bop. Okay? They never said this in that book. Well, that's the way it was told to me. Show it to me. Because here is where it says in this book. Bop, bop, bop. For what they say, for evil to flourish, I'm paraphrasing, good men simply must do nothing. We have to start doing things. We have to call it out. There are children in camps being used and abused right now. If that's not a seed for confusion, when those kids, God help us all, that they can get out soon. Okay? When those kids grow up, or they go back to their hometowns or other places overseas, what have you, whatever happens, what narrative are they gonna take with them? Evil has to stop now. Clarity has to be the rule of the world. We have to have the truth out there. We cannot abide confusion. If I go to a restaurant and I order a steak and shrimp shows up on my platter, am I supposed to smile? No, I'm allergic to shrimp. Okay. Sir, that was wrong. Well, this is what we're not even going to get into that, buddy. I'm not paying. Give me my steak. Okay. We have to stand on truth. 10 toes down.
Well, go ahead there. Go ahead there, Jay. Jay Harris up there putting his 10 toes down up there, huh? My goodness. I didn't know you was going to go hard like that. Gordon, you have a comment on that? Anything else you'd like to say to agree with him?
No, I mean, I agree with both of these guys. I think that, a friend of mine who was from Australia years and years ago told me one time that one of the things that he likes least about the US is that you're either a consumer or you're a producer, and the producers live off of the consumers. And if you throw confusion into all of that, it tends to not be balanced, right? We all have to consume. I'm not saying it needs to be, black and white, but when there's confusion, then it's offset, and therefore the producers are doing really well and the consumers are just consuming, right? I'm currently working with a client that recently went through a divorce and never participated in any of the budgeting and the financial planning, and has to completely start over from scratch. And I'm sharing ideas and thoughts and strategies, and it's like it's all brand new, and and this person is probably well into their 30s and maybe early 40s, and it's sad that somebody can get to that age and just have no idea what to do and how to take care of themselves as an adult. And that goes back to that confusion. I think Benji might have said is that it's not taught, and there's a lot of things that fall into that category of it's not taught, right? It's not just one thing. There's a lot of stuff that's not taught, and if we're not looking out for each other, then of course we're not teaching it. So
let me add to that one a little bit more. The more thing about this, one other thing about education in the United States is absolutely backwards, right? Because it's one of the most non-productive creative process. It doesn't teach you how to think, it teaches you how to remember. So that's the reason I was able to get out of school so early, because I have great memories. It doesn't take much to pass the test, right? But the elite taught different things. They taught how to invest. They taught how to manipulate the market. They are taught to, like Bill Gates' dad taught him how to fund his project. We are never taught to do that. My stepdad, God bless his soul, he's a staff sergeant in the military. He does cars, right? There's nothing creative financially he knows about. Where Gordon is learning through that process. I didn't learn all that stuff either, but the thing is, our people in general never got taught to be creative on the business side, entrepreneur side, life side in general. They're taught to be obedience, right? And that is like when I came to the United States, I realized this is no different than Asia. In Asia, they brand us so young, right? It's like they put it in category very early. I was branded color yellow. So my whole life there, I wear yellow. And some people are they're blue. They wear blue, right? So they brand us very early. Here it's a little different. They brand you and do different things. But yeah, they do the same thing here as well too. So I am so thankful that I was in the last generation that taught music, math, and creativity and art. And that was part of why I'm so successful because of that.
Wow. That's strong. Also going back, let me add on with what Jay was saying. What he said really just hit me up, and all I could think of was integrity, period. Integrity. And that's something that we need to look at, and that's something that we need to check on with ourselves, on integrity. With that being said, I want to ask this question. And I'm going to start with myself, because this is just being integrity. We're about uplifting our community. We're having these conversations, and sometimes these things are tough conversations to have, but this is about learning things. So what area of life currently feels foggy to you? Now, that's my question. When we're talking about clarity versus fogginess and confusion, this is where we're talking about. Each of you, just think for a moment, what area in life right now currently feels a little foggy? We all of us have mentioned different things of how we do this and how we do that. Jerome, Jay just got through talking about taking integrity and putting it into our daily practice. So I have an area that I feel a little foggy in, and that's currently in friendships. I'm in a stage of life right now where I have a level of growth that I've been in. I'm old enough now where everyone's doing reunions now. We got high school reunion, got Air Force reunion. I got guys I was in law enforcement getting together and hanging out, and it's all cool. But I wasn't that dude that I was back then. I wasn't that guy. And being in full integrity, and just talking right now, just for me, having friends right now is a very, very foggy thing for me. I have certain parameters that I ask for of people that I put myself on when I talk to other people, and I say, does he fit in that? Can I be a friend with this person? Can I'm pulling back. I'm a little foggy on my friendships because of the experiences that I've had, and how I also, as the head of my household, whatever happens to me reflects my household. So those friends are very important for me. That's a foggy area for me. So I want to kind of do a round robin, and I want to go starting with you, Gordon. What area of life currently feels foggy for you?
So when you first said it, I thought of two things. I thought about our mobile app. Our mobile app is launching, and I want, like, in my mind, I'm thinking this is going to be such a valuable thing, and people are really going to benefit from interacting with others that are trying to grow and get better and educate themselves and all of that. But at the same time, part of me is like, well, how am I going to do that? It's such a feat, right? And so, because I don't necessarily have all the steps aligned and ready to go and confident that I have a solid plan, then there's confusion. But I think secondly, I feel like I'm questioning some of the community work that I'm doing, and I feel like some of it just seems to be. I wonder if some of it's a waste of time, right? Because we battle with battle's a strong word, right? We are working with people that work for the city. Like, these are people that are employed, and this is their livelihood. This is what pays their bills and takes care of their family. But they don't seem to truly want to do what's best for the city. And so that can be tough when me as a volunteer, taking up my evenings and going to these late meetings, and some of them are 2, 3, 4 hours long, and giving the time. I don't mind giving the time as long as I feel like I'm making progress, or I feel like we're moving in the right direction. And I think, all in all, I think we are, but in my mind, sometimes I think, should I really continue being part of this group, or should I continue being part of that group? And so there's some fogginess there.
Okay. Next up, Benji.
I think the fogginess is so, like, how much more do I want to go, right? How much further do I want to go? Like, this is the last chapter of my life. I'm going as hard as I can, as much as can. I'm like literally max out my energy at this particular point, and try and produce as much work as to be left, like the writing, the music, and everything else. And the only thing foggy is, like, really is kind of like, how much do I have left to give to my kids? Because all these things I do is right now is kind of like, this is for me, because I didn't get a chance to do this earlier. So how much more do I have left for my kids, especially the grandkids and things like that? And now my daughter, my adopted daughter, they both are transitioned to become the woman, the man they are. And those are kind of foggy. Like we talked about earlier conversation, how much do I give them from the wisdom point of view, or how much do I allow them to fail and I pick them up, right? These are things kind of the foggy area, especially Brittany, my adopted daughter. She's gonna be 39. It's like, I know you gotta cross this line. Do you want me to guide you through this, or you want to do this yourself? And if you fall down, I'll pick you up. And that's the foggy part of it.
Okay. All right. Jay, bring it home. Talk to me.
Well, I feel that the, that's such a loaded question for me. Dealing with recent deaths and, for childhood friends, seeing that, like one of my friends, his birthday is actually coming up in another 2 weeks. I knew at a younger part of my life that, we were going to be in the same retirement home one day. That was the plan. We're just going to run around in our wheelchairs and just being jerks in our old age. That was a promise written in stone. That's not going to happen. Okay. I knew that I'm looking at for as, get older for his retirement and those aspects of my life. I'm thinking, okay, you're going to have your Social Security. You're going to have this. There's no guarantee we're going to have Social Security anymore. Okay. There were parts of what we were talking about how the country was going for certain responsibilities that were owed to us by being U.S. citizens, working, contributing to the economy, all that. Those things have disappeared or being, for lack of a better word, they're being robbed. Okay. So all those things so many of the things that I knew that I could count on, I'm learning that I can't anymore. Okay. So I try to be the person at this point where it brings me some relief, is looking to the community of the people that I'm able to help and protect, because they, even as maybe unsure in certain things that I am, I know that they're more unsure. Okay. So I know you hang out with me, you come to our food shares and what have you, we're going to be able to help you feed your family. You're going to be okay. Take that worry off your plate. Okay. We got that part covered. We might not be able to fix everything. I'm not saying that we're trying, but we can pretty much guarantee we can take one thing off of your back. Okay. And I've had people that pulled me into other rooms and just cried and just said, thank you for that. Okay. So at this stage, for me right now, and I'll probably twist in the question a little bit more. So what truly brings me peace is being able to put peace in other people's lives at this point. That's what I see as not only just what I do as a human being, I see that as part of my legacy. Okay. Because, the forces that be take me off this world today. I want to know that, hey, when they do the galactic total, the world was better for having me in it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I think we can really hope for.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's something meant a great deal to me, because
love you, Benji.
The funny thing is, my ending was literally taken away from me 2 years ago, and it still bothers me. So, but yeah, for me, it was like, I told Brian, I'm going to buy you a high school. You're going to be the coach. I'm going to be the principal. And you know why? Because school require you to have college degree. He and I doesn't have one. And what we do, we make our own college and make our own school, make our own things. That was my thing. It's like, this is what I want to do. That's why I was working so hard, because push come to shove, that was my ending for us. And I was supposed to be the first to go, but I'm the last here. So it's been time.
I got you, bro. I got you.
Thank you for that. And with that being said, we're gonna close that out. I don't think we can get any better than that.
You know what? But I'm gonna screw this up, because let me say this. Samuel, Benji, Gordon, I want to say let you guys know, my short tenure that I've been with you gentlemen, I have learned from each and every one of you.
Thank you.
You are helping making me a better person. And I thank you for that. Okay, so I just want to let you know that you are helping making me a better person. And that knowledge, that empathy, that wisdom, seeing things from those different points of view, culturally, politically, spiritually, you are helping me understand and enhance my human experience. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wow.
You're welcome.
That is the reason why we are here. That is exactly why we're here. We are here to have these conversations. We are here to talk and discuss things because you never know what the other person is going through. We don't know. And we don't talk about these things, which is exactly why we are here with Uplift Our Community. We have an app that is officially now in the Apple and Android shops right now. We're going to have a discussion next week on where we're going to be pushing things. But I want to thank everybody here. And before we go, I want to just give you this brief word. Let me tell you what we got going on here. Today, I want to leave you with this. Confusion is expensive. It steals time, peace, confidence, and momentum. Clarity may feel uncomfortable at first, but it sets you free. Sometimes the answer isn't hidden. Sometimes it's the truth you've been avoiding. So choose honesty, choose peace, choose direction, choose growth. And most importantly, choose clarity. This is Uplift Our Community podcast. Keep rising, keep healing, and keep moving forward. Until next week, we'll see you. Take care. Bye-bye.